Winter is coming.
Where are my dragons?
In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die.
The things I do for love.
A Lannister always pays his debts.
Chaos is a ladder.
Hodor.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
We
are the Rewatchers on the wall.
I'm warning you, I'm gonna scream when my husband makes love to me. Scream so loud they'll hear me clear across the narrow sea.
Ugh.
Didn't they see a euphemism for something, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were going to continue.
No, that's where I stopped. I was gonna do a little moan.
Go on.
My narrow sea. Peter! Peter!
Oh, man.
Do, 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 do.
Gotta love Game
This is
of
my
Thrones.
favorite line by far from season 4.
Oh, man.
Come for the political intrigue, stay for the
And
awkward sex
that's the
conversations.
moment that Sansa officially has the worst
Where
law as a character.
It's worse
Yeah.
That's what we
than
knew.
Theon at this point.
Yeah, seeing her dad's head on
Yeah,
a spike,
it's worse.
it's all mixed in, but that's the moment.
A few moans never hurt anyone. Anyway, hey, my name is Mitch Marshall here with Tyler McKinley, Tyler Harris, and Riley Harris. And let's kick things off with a nice summary here
Oh, here we go.
from
Pulled up now.
T-Bone Tyler Harris.
All right. This time on Game of Thrones, Cool Kid Tom has recognized the new king of the Seven Kingdoms. Cersei and Marjorie talk to each other without actually talking about the things that they're talking about. Dany holds court in a new palace. Littlefinger and Sansa arrive at the Eyrie. Lysa agrees to hide Sansa, but she's real horny for this Littlefinger. So horny, in fact, she killed her husband. Lannisters are... Oh, shit. Cersei still won't say yes to the dress, and Tywin tells her about the mountain of death the Lannisters are under. The Hound learns Arya's names. Lysa is jealous of Sansa. The Hound teaches Arya how to fight. Cersei and Oberyn swap parenting stories. Jon and the Night's Watch attack Crasters. Locke finds Bran and the Wonder Twins. Bran possesses Hodor and kills Locke, and they escape into the woods. Jon fights Carl, is saved by Craster's wife, then kills Carl, and the wives burn that mother to the ground. The Bank of Bravos tells Stannis his credit score is too low for a loan. Davos tries to lawyer the bankers and finds out that the Lannisters are really deep in debt. Davos goes to an old friend for help. Yara attacks the Dreadfort, realizes Theon is too far gone, fights Ramsay, and then flees the dogs. My brother is dead. Ramsay sends Reek undercover to the Iron Islands from the north. Daenerys encounters more problems in her utopia, and her dragons are real big. The small council talks about all these kings. Tyrion goes on trial, and everyone testifies against him, even his number one girl, Shae. What? Why, Shae? Why? Tyrion falls back on old habits and demands a trial by combat. Jaime and Tyrion talk about the burdens of being a son. The mountain is here. Arya and the Hound encounter more raised tomes, and Arya kills this gross guy who threatened to rape her a long time ago. Jon wants to seal the tunnel in the wall, but Alistair puts a kibosh on that idea. Bronn visits Tyrion. Apparently, he's marrying some rich person and won't be Tyrion's proxy. Dario seduces Dany. Stannis' wife and Melisandre discuss religion and some other stuff. Jory tries to talk some sense into Dany. The Hound opens up to Arya. Podrick and Brienne meet Hot Pie, and they head to the Eyrie. Oberyn tells Tyrion that he will be his proxy in trial by combat. Sansa flirts with her weird cousin Robin, then slaps him. Then Littlefinger kisses her, and Lysa sees. Then Lysa's going to Moondor her, but Littlefinger stops her. Then he Moondors Lysa. Gilly deals with the trailer trash of Westeros. Then the wildlings attack, and Tilly and her baby are spared by Ygritte. The Night's Watch prepare for the wildlings to attack. Grey Worm is horny for Missandei? Something? And everyone is surprised that he can feel stuff. Reek goes undercover as Theon to get the Iron Island soldiers to surrender. Then Ramsay Bolton flays all of the Iron Island soldiers who surrender. The Lords of the Vale investigate Lysa Arryn's death, and Sansa totally covers for Littlefinger and says Lysa killed herself because she was so jealous. Littlefinger thinks Robin the Boy Wonder should be king. Barristan Selmy knows that Jorah was spying on Dany, and Dany exiles Jorah. Ramsay is now Bolton. The Hound and Arya reach the Eyrie. Jaime and Tyrion discuss beetles. Oberyn Martell kills the mountain with ease. Oh no, wait, his head just exploded, and now Tyrion's going to be executed.
Wow.
That's all.
That was good. That was good stuff.
It's a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where to begin? How about in King's Landing?
Let's do it.
The King's Landing, finally. I think this is the first season where King's Landing really, really isn't, too much the epicenter of everything that's going on. But, man, it's still good.
Yeah.
Cersei is still real fun to watch, and so is that one girl.
I will say, is Cersei one of the few characters in this show who just has been at King's Landing forever?
Yeah.
I don't think she's left King's Landing.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the first time we see her, she's in Winterfell, but then when she gets back, she's
Oh,
just there
you're
forever,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas
I don't think she's gone anywhere.
And I rarely see her outside of the castle, too. She's the richest shut-in
Yeah.
in the world.
She's either at the Red Keep or we've seen her at the the Sept of Baelor a few times, but
Right.
those are like literally like across the town. So she's probably been in 1.5 square miles
Yeah.
for this entire show.
Yeah. If the like king was decided by who just stayed there the longest, she would be a shoo-in.
Yeah.
She would definitely be queen.
It's like one of those contests: who can keep their hand on the car the longest?
Right.
Cersei's been keeping her hand on King's Landing the longest.
Yeah. she leaves a pair of shoes in every room just so a piece of her is always there, so she can lay claim to it.
Did you go into that? Did you see my shoes? That's my room. That's my room. My kingdom. 7 of my kingdoms.
But yeah, I mean, the Tommen stuff, man, I still can't imagine that boy as king. Like, it's funny because like Joffrey is like a total asshole.
Yeah.
And that's why I could see him being king. But like Tommen, I'm just like, make that kid some mac and cheese, let him watch Rocket Power in the afternoon, and like make sure he does math. I don't know, like he seems like an actual kid. So,
Get off your ass and do some math.
I'm trying to remember, and I thought I had written it down, but I don't see it. Are these the episodes where Marjorie comes into his room?
Those were
No,
the
those
ones
have already
before.
happened.
That's what we already talked about.
Those
Yeah.
were before.
Okay.
But definitely there's less battling for his affections, but there is some nice banter between Marjorie and Cersei when she's like, "Should I call you sister or mother?"
Yeah.
Is that in the throne room?
Yeah.
That scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe that's the one I was thinking of because I was unsure if those were the same episodes or not. Where she first talks to Marjorie, and then later in the episode she's talking to Tywin, and then she's talking to Oberyn. That's that episode, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her first conversation with with Marjorie, Katie was like, "Do you think that was her like actually trying to be nice for once?" And I was like, "I don't think so. I'm pretty sure." And then it's later revealed that she's going to all the judges of Tyrion's trial, trying to tell them all what they want to hear,
Right.
to try and.
And that is so much. It's even more salacious in the book. Like the way she turns everyone on Tyrion is masterful.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell, we can just skip ahead to this. Tyrion's little monologue, everything he does in that trial is my favorite performance of any certain piece of anything in Game of Thrones.
Apparently just lock Peter Dinklage up for a year, which I'm sure is what they did to film this. And holy shit, that guy can act. I mean, we already knew that. He's like been my favorite part of the show for so long, but I honestly was like, oh, I'm bummed that he's in jail, but everything was awesome with him.
Yeah.
Like, so good.
Every episode he was just getting one little thing where like he would talk to someone in prison and that was really all he was getting. And then when you unleash him, oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like the stuff it does for him and Jamie's relationship too, like you getting to see those moments with them is so good. And yeah, Jamie to me has become this incredibly dualistic character where it's like, whenever I see him in a scene, I'm like, I don't know if I'm looking at good Jamie or bad Jamie. I just don't know anymore. Is this the Jamie I like or the Jamie that I fear? But his stuff with Tyrion is so good, and it's nice to see that family relationship within the Lannisters, I think.
Yeah.
I loved
I think so far in the season, any visit he has in his cell, like it's been the whole show, but this kind of comes to like that ultimate point, like you guys are saying, that Tyrion's section of this season is just so good. It's the best of the show, and any scene where he's getting visited in prison throughout his whole trial, but those moments where he's being visited, I really like because it delves into the different relationships with the different, like when Bronn comes to visit. And it's like, here's our whole relationship encapsulated into one conversation and what it really means and how far it really goes.
And there's such a good mutual respect and understanding of what that relationship is.
Yeah.
And then the scene with Jamie where they're talking about their cousins smashing the Beatles. I wish I could find it. I tried to find it and I couldn't. When they're impersonating his cousin, they're going, dude.
Yeah.
Someone took that and looped it for like an hour.
Oh my
And
god.
it's just that forever on YouTube. And it's uncomfortable.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that was a great scene. That's a great example of a scene that I don't feel like you see a lot in other shows. They give it so much time, and about halfway through I was like, man, where is this going? And then when it gets there, it's not like a huge thing, it's not like this crazy reveal, but it is this incredible character moment between these two brothers, and like it just feels good, you know? I don't know.
So the opposite of feeling good is a lot of the trial when Tyrion can't defend himself, and you get like Mirren Trant goes up there, and then Pycelle calls Joffrey the most noble child the gods have ever put on this earth.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yikes.
piece. And then Pycelle's like listing things off, and they literally like wave this dude off, just cut him off. But maybe the most heartbreaking thing, I was wondering, is this more emotionally painful for Tyrion than getting your balls ripped off is for Theon when Shay goes up there and uses his own words against him and throws him under the bus in every way possible? So, one, I want to know how you guys feel about that bitch. Second of all, like, you should never call a woman a bitch.
How does Mitchell feel?
I want to know how you guys feel about this bitch.
Feelings.
But also, do you think that she ever had genuine feelings for him? Because this was your... I knew this was coming, and you said it was your favorite relationship in the show.
Yeah, let's save you for last because
Yeah,
this
I'll go.
I have the feeling you have the most to say about this. So
Yeah. I was really thrown when she was up there, and like
Throne?
it
you're like hesitation. Should I do it?
Sorry.
yeah, it was just like shocking because she was saying all these things and her face was just like completely different than anything we'd seen from her before, like her expression and how she was like acting about him and everything. And I really couldn't tell if it was just because she was mad that he was like, you're just a whore, you need to leave, or if she had just been like playing him the whole time to get all this information, but she didn't know this was going to happen. So I don't know. I was really mad though. I was just like, this is like the biggest betrayal, and you could like see it on Tyrion's face, like he was just like devastated.
During that scene when she's talking, Tyrion is so visibly in pain, and he sits down. It seems like something to me that would be very blocked. Like, it came into my mind as like someone told him, "Hey, you're gonna back up a little bit. You're gonna sit down because you're so much in pain." And I was like, nothing has ever felt more natural for someone collapsing emotionally and physically than when he did it there.
Yeah.
I could talk about Dinky's performance.
So good. Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of confused.
Oh, first I want to ask you, did either of you, because she had been sent away and it had been like very overly stated that she wasn't there anymore, were you shocked to see her walk in, or was it kind of something you were expecting?
I was a little bit shocked, but I think that we've talked about this before. I know I've talked to Riley about it off the podcast of like, if I don't see something happen, who knows?
Yeah.
So, like, this is a show that holds true for, I think, even more than most, because I feel like, especially at this point in the show, it feels like everything is way more deliberate. And so if I don't see that happen, then I honestly don't know. So I was a little surprised. I was more surprised to see her testifying in the trial than I was to just see her again. You know what I mean? I thought maybe we'd see her again, but yeah, I've got like really mixed feelings about this, cause I do think that she genuinely had feelings for him. She also might just be the best at what she does.
Yeah.
Do
you mean the
Horan?
Okay.
Well, and surviving. Like, I think that, I mean,
true.
she uses what she has to play the game. And I think she, I don't know, this feels like something that she had to do to survive.
Yeah.
Because Tyrion was her protector until
he sent her away
couldn't be
for her
anymore.
protection.
Yeah. And she's not leaving. Like, she doesn't want to leave for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but she, it feels like a survival thing. And I think that does trump whatever she feels for Tyrion, probably. So I'm really conflicted and really sad. But yeah,
they have that moment where he's like, Shay, please don't. And you can tell that she's emotional about it. So I feel like, she definitely cared for him, I in my opinion. But yeah, once again, that need for survival outweighs that love for him, I think.
Well, and I think if she didn't care for him, she wouldn't have acted the way she did when he married Sansa. Like, I think all of that stuff would have played out differently.
Yeah, and I think that also, is a huge factor in her decision making, as well as almost like a vengeance type of thing.
Yeah.
Because she totally bought the whole Lassie trick and fell for that hook, line, and sinker.
Right,
so.
yeah. The whole Lassie.
But
Not the old Yeller, which
Not-
is totally different.
which is yeah, that we both wrote that. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
she was just so cruel. Saying the My Lion thing, it's messed up. You don't tell people. Yeah, you don't talk about pillow talk. You know what I'm saying? It's all right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love when you turn into, because I wasn't there for that first episode where you turned into your southern plantation owner.
It's an easy one to fall into.
And I listened to it. I listened to it at work, and I was just like trying so hard not to laugh. And my boss was like checking someone else's computer, was like, "What are you smirking about?" Like, and I was like, "I'm listening to my friend's podcast." And he's like, "You're a really good friend. You're a better friend for laughing at it." I was like,
Tell your boss to listen to our podcast.
You didn't tell him that you were also on the podcast.
I wasn't on that episode.
It's true. That is true.
I didn't want to be like, I'm listening to my podcast, laughing my ass off.
That would be even better.
Anyways, back in Westeros.
Yes.
So that trial, I mean, there's so many good things about it. I love how Mr. Tyrell is just like always standing there pretending to be important on the end.
Mr. Tyrell.
I don't know what else to
his
call
name
him.
in the credits, I wouldn't even bat an eye. That is a very apt description of who that man is. I will say, one of my favorite things, like, he hasn't really had much screen time. He's mostly just this joke that everyone's like, well, I have to talk to my dad. Not really. I make all the decisions.
He's kind of fat and
Idiot.
stupid. Sexy grandma's in this thing.
She is, yeah.
Go on.
We
Yeah,
haven't seen Elena for a while.
while.
But I will say my favorite moment with Mr. Tyrell is when he's in the small council and Oberyn comes in and he's like, oh, is this when you make me like master of ships or something? And he's like, I'm master of ships. You said I could be master of ships. I'm master of ships. Like, I almost expected during the trial for him to be like, hi, I'm Mr. Martell, master of ships. Just one question.
What's interesting because he produced Marjorie, who it makes sense because obviously her grandmother's really smart, but also Loras is kind of dumb. Like he's much more serious, but he's not. He's not all there. I think it's a really fun family that obviously has done some good things and is wealthy and factors into the game. But then you get who should be the patriarch of this family is just a Dunder Mifflin.
It really is. And it's played up in a really fun way.
Yeah,
Like
it's just subtle enough to not be out of the world, but just funny enough to be some nice comic relief.
Yeah, it's really good.
I was his whore, and he's like, his what?
It's like so shocked. Like, do you know where you are right now?
We let a whore in the throne
we were
room.
hanging out
Honestly,
with.
hearing the conversations between your mom and your daughter,
Yeah.
way more shocking, bud.
But so Tyrion comes out with this monologue that's just like, I'm guilty of being a dwarf. I'm not guilty of this, and he just goes to town on the people. He's like, I saved your lives. You're all disgusting. It is beautiful. My actual note was, I think I'm a lesbian for thespians after that monologue, which I don't think makes a whole lot of sexual sense, but I'm into it. But it
Doesn't have to.
Any other elements to that one that you guys want to talk about? It is a really rich
Yeah.
section.
I think something that has weight later on in the next episode we'll talk about is just the deal that Jaime and Tywin come to during the recess of the trial.
Oh, right, yeah.
Of Jaime puts his wants on the line for Tyrion and actually makes like a really big sacrifice of, look, I'll quit the Kingsguard, I'll be your heir, it's everything Tywin wants, like just if you let Tyrion live, and Tywin has already planned this out. Makes the agreement that he'll send Tyrion to the wall, but then after his outburst then sentences him to death and changes the...
Well, and Tyrion might have gone... Jaime also tells Tyrion, hey, he's like, Dad's going to send you to the wall. It's all good. And I don't think Tyrion loves that. But I think he would have done it, and then he just gets set off. Did you think for 1 second he'd go to the wall, and were you curious how that dynamic would work with him and Jon up there?
I mean, I was curious for a second. I don't think I ever fully thought he would go to the wall.
Yeah.
I still don't. I mean, obviously I don't. But like, yeah. I mean, I think that would be an interesting dynamic. But yeah, I don't think I ever thought that was.
I think I thought that like they were gonna pull the whole like, oh, this is his sentence, and then on the way there something was gonna happen to make him either escape or something like that.
Right.
But
Like when Arya was going to go to the wall.
exactly.
Yeah,
Never got there.
yeah. People have a hard time getting to the wall.
Arya been all around Westeros.
Yeah. She has. She's been.
She's been everywhere.
What happened?
kinda wander around.
Well, anything else that happened? I guess King's Landing. We still in these episodes we do get to the trial by combat. So,
Oh right, yeah.
this is a very
Yeah.
This is in Game of Thrones circles, well thought of as a battle, and everyone loves this character who is really only with us for like 5 episodes when it really comes down to it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people love Oberyn, and so we get his fight with the Mountain, and it's really fun to watch, and it has quite the epic ending that's like, you kind of get Tyrion's perspective, but I was taken out of it just because the fight was so cool. Like, I knew Tyrion's life was on the line, and they would do cutbacks to his face just being concerned or elated. But what did you guys think about that fight?
Go
I
ahead,
feel
Riley.
like you should never like be cocky about something until you've like finished the job. And I know that he wanted this like payoff. He wanted the Mountain to like say he did it, but like he knew he did it, so it doesn't matter. Just kill him and be done with it. But he gave him too much. He gave him a leash, you know.
He's got a flair for the
You shouldn't have
dramatics,
done it.
that Oberyn.
Yeah.
If we learned anything
Everything was
about
very
Oberyn and the
theatrical.
Dornish, it's they want you to know what they know, and what they know
Yeah.
is they have a lot of sex and they get vengeance on people who rape and murder their relatives.
Yeah. And he's a great warrior. I mean, it could have been over in like 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, dude with a spear beats this massive knight with all the armor and a big old sword.
Yeah.
It was actually super fun. In the book, by the way, and I don't know if this is really referenced in the show, but he's a poison expert. So a lot of people are like, as soon as he cut him once, the Mountain wasn't going to be able to do much. So
Gotcha.
it makes sense. It's really cool to see. And I was like, he did stab him in a deathly way, but it's just like, just finish it. And
I forgot. They do mention that, though. I was trying to think if they do mention that after Joffrey's death. I totally forgot.
And they
about
show
that.
his squire putting the
Oh,
poison
they do.
on the blade. They don't say it.
Yeah, I didn't catch on.
Yeah, I
to
didn't.
that.
That's a
It's
subtle
just
one, okay.
You
Yeah.
saying that.
Yeah.
Like,
You wouldn't have any knowledge if they didn't say it later. That it would just look like he was cleaning it.
And I don't feel like it fully shows in the battle either that he was. It just looks like he cut his leg. That makes it hard to move. Then he stabs him, and it's like, dude, if he was just walking 1 foot further away in his circle, it was tough.
Yeah.
Just because I want that every time it happens, I want him to win. I want that character to be around longer. And then the ending is so brutal.
yeah, it's really brutal.
Do you think
Yeah.
that's possible to just crush someone's skull in your hands?
I mean, we saw it happen, so
Must be
possible.
It's on film, Mitchell.
there needs to be a myth.
It's not one of those things that happened off screen. That might have not happened.
Saw
It
it.
definitely happened.
Yeah, Oberyn definitely doesn't have a head. Now, we don't know that someone isn't crafting a head for him.
An iron head.
Oh boy.
It's just a head attached to the throne they snap his body into when he needs to go to court.
It's how they're gonna bring Lady Stoneheart back. They're gonna put Catelyn's head on his body.
Oh gosh,
I'm down.
that would be so cool.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Frankenstein.
We need to write some fan fiction after this.
Oh yeah. I mean, I already am. I've got pages.
But yeah, so that's a big bummer of a thing.
Yeah, but the what's it called? The Viper in the Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful sequence, really fun. I like it. It counters the trial so well because it's open, it's in the air. You have almost like this gladiator arena. It's a super awesome sequence, but it ends with kind of a fan favorite whore dying, but not a whore, just a promiscuous man. And
I was so confused for a second.
Yeah, I was like, what's
No, but it's the whole trial. I guess just to kind of wrap it all up for this section is it's one of the most roller coaster moments and sequences of I think anything I've ever watched or read. Of you've got all the one of your favorite characters getting put into prison, then some people kind of giving him hope, but then within those same scenes being like, but not gonna happen, and then you have an unexpected person come forward and be like, I'll be your champion, I'll fight for you, and they're like, oh my gosh, he's got a chance, this fight starts going well, you're like, sweet, and then at the very last second it all crumbles away.
George just pulls the rug right out from underneath.
Yeah, it's expertly done, and it's the one that, I mean, I might just be gullible because I'm so invested, but it took me for a ride and manipulated me and manhandled me exactly how I wanted to, and I let it.
Riley, were you shocked? Are these things starting? Are you surprised by these things? Or are you starting to not necessarily expect the unexpected, but expect the expected not to happen?
Yeah. Yes,
I
sure.
love that.
It made sense. It made sense.
No, it does. I love
Yeah.
it.
I think I just don't trust anything because I'm just like, there's you have to wait until the last second because something will always happen at the last second, it feels like. And so during that fight I was like, oh, maybe he's won, and then I was like, oh no, Like, this is not going to end well because he's, like, dancing around like a fool. So I feel like I'm very wary of anything happening. And so I always wait until the scene is over to, like, fully react to things, or I try to. I mean, I can't all the time because a lot of things happen that I'm like, oh my gosh. But I usually give it a second to sink in before I'm like, okay, that's what was going to happen.
What this show does so well is we talk about there's so many storylines and so many characters, but they're also good that they're worth being invested in, and because there's so many, you can kill them, and it's okay.
Right.
That's the thing, like, we're going to talk in a minute about the area and Lysa going through the moon door. Like, Lysa wasn't a main character ever. She was a little tangential, but she does seem to have a significant role right now. You wouldn't think that's the best move for Littlefinger, but, I mean, I guess we can just go to the area, but
let's go.
As far as the unexpected, Tyler, what are your thoughts?
We're definitely in the realm of stuff where, like, I don't really know what's going to happen. And so I think that this show does a good job, though, of not just using that as manipulation.
Yeah.
I think at times prior to this, there have been things that I'm like, I don't know. Like, I could go either way. But, like, everything that's happened this season so far, it feels like it needs to happen. You know what I mean? And I'm shocked by it. But, like, when I think back on things, I'm like, no, I see it. I can actually track why things are happening, how things are happening, that kind of stuff. And so that's actually really nice, I think, as a viewer. It's, like, really satisfying to watch because of that reason, I feel like.
And cutting things out from such a large and deep canon of the books, it is so hard to then keep consistency and lay groundwork 3 seasons ahead. And, you know, just big props to Benioff and Weiss for being able to work within that.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's head to the alley, where Littlefinger and Sansa are going up there. One thing that's in the books that's not in this is it's really freaking hard to get up to the Aerie Castle. Like, you have to get pulled up and this thing, and then climb this stuff, and then get on these donkeys along ledges. Anyway, it's just kind of funny that there's like, we're now up here in the Aerie.
You just see, it's just a loading screen between the gate at the bottom and then the moon door at the top.
You got Lysa, who has always been in love with Littlefinger, who apparently took her virginity, even though he was just in love with her sister. And then you have her little suckling boy.
Ugh, it's the grossest.
Aaron.
Yeah, Robin the Suckler, right?
Robin.
That's how he's known throughout the tale.
Robin the Suckler.
Ew.
We've got
Lord
the
of the
mountains,
Aerie, the
the
Suckler.
hounds,
Lord of the Vale.
the Suckler. The Suckler sounds like he'd be a terrible, like, torture guy.
Yeah.
Actually. Anyway,
Just gives you hickeys.
where the soldiers...
Any milk? Okay.
Oh,
My nipples are 2%. Okay. Your teeth are far too big, Lord. Okay. So
Robin's the worst.
these two are chilling, and the little boy is like a pansy, and she doesn't want to get involved in the war. She doesn't want him to ever leave this castle. They're just super happy, but she is apparently real amorous. She's Littlefinger comes in, and she's got a scepter ready to marry them on the spot. She's trying to get laid. She's like, "Oh, my niece, yeah, whatever, ho," and she just proceeds to get some before anything else. And that eventually leads to her doom, because she's a complete psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing about this whole, for lack of a better word, sequence is that Sansa, it's the first time that she really feels safe. Like, when you first get there, it's like, oh, good, she's out of King's Landing, she's away from the people that want to kill her, we can breathe easy now for her. And then it's quickly revealed that, nope, you're still in a lot of danger, because your aunt is psycho bitch.
Yeah.
Like, the scene where she's giving her lemon cakes or whatever, luring her into a false sense of security because she knows it's her favorite, and then, like, is, like, super suspicious of her and Littlefinger, and threatens her and hurts her a bit. And it's once again, it's like, I've given up going along with the unexpected. I've given up trying to figure out the show at this point, because they throw so many curveballs that it's easier for them to just, like, make me feel what I want to feel and think what they want me to think, because I've given up trying to. And, like, that's a scary moment that holds more weight than it probably should for me, because I'm like, shit, I was hoping for this character to stop just being tortured all the time, and now, even though I hate her, I can't help but feel, like, bad for her, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is Sansa and the actress who plays her best work by far, when she stands up and lies to the other lords or the other like nobles of the Vale. When she lies for Littlefinger, she gets emotional. You can tell she's conflicted on multiple ends because this dude is also quite rapey towards her. I think it's kind of her coming out party as far as like she's already been through hell and she has to start playing the game a little bit. She's already had to lie and just go along with things, but this is the first time she can take ownership and she makes a choice. She could probably get Littlefinger imprisoned here, but then she is put in a position you have no idea what's going to happen to her. So she chooses, and Littlefinger even refers to this. She chose the enemy she knows. Yeah. Choose the devil you know instead of the one you don't. And so it's her first move. I think it's well performed, and it's a little surprising just because Littlefinger is such a freaking creeper and everything. But big ups to Sansa for that one.
Yeah, it's hard for her too. She's I don't know if she. I mean, obviously, Liza Aaron's now dead.
Right.
That she's been pushed through the moon door, but she also during that time she has to kind of like watch her step around her, but also she knows that she can't trust Baelish at that point.
Yeah.
Even though he saved her, she knows that like he kissed her, and I'm sure she didn't want him to kiss her, but she kind of like has to go along with it for her own survival, which she's learned how to do very well at this point. But it's like she knows, okay, this guy doesn't have my best interest, and it really is like the moment I get excited for that character.
Yeah.
In the show, we won't spoil anything, but in the show, it doesn't work out for me. But this.
Oh, do you dislike the change?
It's in the next season. I don't want to get into it, but like,
well, just like in general, she lives undercover. So in the beginning of the episode, they're going to pretend that she's not Sansa Stark. That carries on for a lot longer in the books.
Yeah. Well, as far as this season goes and where I was when I first watched the season, I'm like, yes, this is exactly where this character needs to go.
Right.
And I think I'm really gonna enjoy what they're doing with her. And for the most part, with the ideas, yes, it's great, and I'm really happy where they're starting to take her after just watching her just get beat on for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
She's too tall for Lord Baelish. I'd just like to point that out. It's very much like a Ginny and Harry Potter kiss, which bothers me to no end. And also Littlefinger, like before he pushes out, like all he knows how to say is, "I loved her mother." Like, it's like someone who's vegan or does CrossFit. That's the only thing he knows how to talk about.
I've always thought of Catelyn Stark's love like CrossFit.
You just can't stop talking about it.
It's difficult and not healthy for you.
It's dangerous, but rewarding.
But rewarding, yes.
I think that the other thing that's revealed here, too, is that Littlefinger was basically the driving force behind Jon Arryn's death.
Yes.
And
that's not ever explicitly said. Do you still think it's the Lannisters because they suck?
Right. Well, and it's and like we've seen, especially just in the last 4 or 5 episodes, we've seen what Littlefinger is actually capable of, which is just blipping life out of existence. You know, he's got enough connections at this point, and he does become terrifying because of that. And then we see that the moment when he pushes Lysa Arryn out of the moon door is a huge misstep on his part. That is not a smart move for his game. Like, short term, maybe. Long term, it's definitely not. Because without Sansa, which he had no idea that she would do that. I don't think that he knew, you know.
It was the first time he wasn't in control.
And so that's an interesting place to see that character. And it's interesting to see... I don't know that we've seen people who he is in debt to, really. You know what I mean? Like, I'm interested to see how that dynamic works between him and Sansa. But yeah.
But I think that, and like really quickly, that when I watched it this time, it made me remember the very first scene Jaime and Cersei are in the whole show, episode 1, where they're at King's Landing and Jon Arryn's body is going through his funeral rites, and they're talking about his death and like whatever he did know or didn't know died with him, and it's like it's very trying to hint that like they did this, but you go back and listen to it after seeing this and knowing this, and you're like, oh, it's a whole new context of they really didn't know who killed him.
That's a great callback. That's something I wish I could do more, is see those little connections between the beginning and the end, because obviously they needed him to die. He had figured out that they were incestuous-ers. And conveniently, Littlefinger, for his own power play, I wonder. I don't know what they think of Littlefinger now, but like technically, he's the Lord of the Vale, which is has a huge army and a huge area. But he's also still technically over Harrenhal, which is not really in anyone's possession and is kind of cursed.
mean,
but he's
everyone's
doing
over
pretty
that.
well.
Harrenhal has about as many lords as Westeros has kings at this point, I think. But no one wants Harrenhal.
Let's talk about the people who are wandering through Westeros real quick. We'll start with Arya and the Hound. I don't think does a whole lot happen with them in these episodes.
They have some good small character moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mostly character modes,
Yeah.
which I actually appreciate. I like that a lot, especially with those characters.
Is this when they get brought into that person's house, or is that previous episode?
That was previous.
That's previous.
But this is the one where he gets attacked, right?
Yeah. And Arya
They kill
kills
that guy.
guy.
That guy's dying on the ground who's been robbed, and so
Yeah.
Oh right.
the Hound kills him. And I don't know. That was I guess
Arya
the most
kills
interesting
him.
point
Yeah.
in that, where they were talking, and he's like talking about his fear of dying, and Arya essentially is just like, nothing can't be worse than this because nothing is nothing. And
There's a lot of talk about killing and the kind of the philosophy and emotion behind it.
yeah, their conversations get like the most philosophical, I feel like,
Yeah.
out of anything in this show, because everyone's so much. Well, not that people don't talk about philosophy at all, but theirs is like the most like strictly just for the sake of talking about it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like making power plays or anything.
And it's strictly existential, too. It's not really moralistic. It's just like, it's more just about, well, what's after? What is the purpose, I guess, even, you know, it's really interesting.
But then the biter attacks the
Oh,
Hound,
right.
bites him on the neck. They kill those people, and then that sets up a nice character moment later where the Hound is trying to clean his wounds and stitch it up himself, and he can't. Arya wants to help and pour boiling wine in it or burn it out. He's scared of fires, that type of thing. And then they kind of snap at each other, and then it kind of turns into a really interesting tenor moment between these two characters who have hated each other up to this point, and she helps him sew up his wound. And it's like the real first, like, I don't know, genuine connection and caring they feel for each other, which I think is super important.
It's a super interesting relationship that develops because she does have all this hatred. And I remember in the beginning, he's like not going to give her a horse, and then they have a moment where he starts to trust her with the horse. This is the second time that she's killed someone who had done something bad, like he threatened to rape her. Now she gets to kill him, just like she killed that other guy who had been making fun of her little friend, and she's just putting Needle to good use. But super, like, this is not moving our plot along, but in a fantastic way. It's doing the better part of almost what Game of Thrones can do. Instead of two people in a room talking, it's two people on horses talking. And they're a whole lot of fun to watch. The Hound, I think this is the moment I realized, I was like, okay, before I was like, why is this character still matter? Why is he still around? And this is the first time these interactions made me feel like he is really interesting and someone I'm happy is still around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they did a really good job of like humanizing him in these conversations, because like he talks, like she kind of brings up that the mountain like burned his face, and then he like tells the whole story, and he was like, I was just a kid and I was playing with one of his toys and he got mad and burned my face. And you see him like show those emotions, and you can see like the fear in his eyes even when he's talking about it, which you like really haven't seen from him at all up to this point.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of helps Arya understand him more, and I don't know, it just builds their relationship more, and I just love them together.
Yeah.
I think they're great.
Yeah, it's really good.
The Clegane's playing a little bit bigger role in these episodes. He gets that play, and then the Mountain gets into that big old fight. Do you guys want to go north or east?
Let's go. I'm trying to remember what happens north. Let's go north.
Let's go north, because not a whole lot happens.
Yeah.
John's really just getting
Okay.
pushed around for the most part, and Gilly is in Molestown, where we know there have been some raids in villages around. Of course, that's where like that little kid Ollie comes to the wall from, and now Molestown gets raided, and Ygritte comes upon Gilly and the baby hiding, and she just she lets them live. But see more violent, like these are the wildlings. Like, as much as we like Tormund and Ygritte, like they're horrible. Like this is why they don't want them south of the wall. It's like it's tough because they need to go south and take over that because they want the protection of the wall too. But this is what they do.
Yeah.
So tough to watch. John's just mostly getting pushed around. There's no real leadership, so Sir Alistair Thorne has kind of taken that mantle, and he's got the little douche from King's Landing by his side. And it's like John has not cried wolf, but he's telling them like we need to we need to bury the tunnel that leads out past the wall. Like, no more ranging. He's like, these people are coming. We've got to protect ourselves. They've got giants. And they're treating him as the boy who cried wolf, even though he has not said a false thing thus far.
Yeah. It's funny, watching this, I couldn't help but think of, like, a more democratic process for electing people. Like, that's what it feels like the wall is right now. It's like, well, whoever has the votes gets to lead. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of Alistair Thorne right now, because he's got this old, like...
He's running his campaign.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it feels like. Like, that whole meeting, it just feels like a town hall meeting where, like, John is walking up to a microphone in the aisle between a bunch of seats and be like, so I really think we need to bury the wall. They're like, well, this guy, he builds walls. Let's see what he has to say. And that guy's like, yeah, no.
That's stupid. You're probably doing this because you love the wildlings. Wildlings. You make my tunnel.
Yeah, that was an odd music choice.
I
When
know.
they just played that right in the middle of the episode.
Can't just...
When they were attacking Molestown and killing all the innocent people, and just like wildlings. I was like,
we're really doing a remix of this right now?
Stroll in the back on a mandolin, but electric guitar sounds are coming out.
First time I've
Of course, the Thens have electric instruments.
They would.
so
The
gross.
Thens are actually the ancestors of the guys who play the guitars in Mad Max.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Thens listen to Drowning Pool, and they think they're really cool for listening to Drowning Pool, and they'll let you know about it.
What's the band that sings "Swing Life Away"?
Rise Against.
One time, I listened to "Swing Life Away," and then I downloaded all of Rise Against discography.
And then you were extremely
I was like,
disappointed.
Oh, it's Story of the Year is the same thing where they have a few really cool mild songs, and then it's like, oh man, I didn't know you guys would be screaming all the time. Luckily, it was all on Pirate Bay. I didn't pay for that. Not that I've ever pirated anything in my life.
What's Pirate Bay?
I don't. It's a bay. It's where Johnny Depp goes to think. Okay. One more thing in Westeros is Theon. A lot of important things happen with Theon and Ramsay. Theon is fully brainwashed to the point where his sister comes to rescue him, and he's like, "No, I'm Reek. Get away from me. I'm gonna climb back in the dog cage." And Ramsay comes out with no shirt and is just like gonna fight. Like, apparently he is pretty skilled. Like, I think we think of him as a manipulator, but it seems like he really can fight. But it is painful to see where Theon is, because after that, he trusts Theon to the point where he's like, "Okay, now Reek, you're gonna pretend to be Theon, and you're gonna go get this castle for me." And these guys kill their own leader because they're like, okay, they're gonna let us go. Let's just go back to the Iron Islands. Who cares? And then they get flayed. Like, just lets you know that I know there's no honor among thieves, or within war, but there should be. Like, the fact that he did that is like, I don't know. I don't care about those Islanders, but when he just didn't let them go, it pissed me off a little more. But guess that got him legitimized.
Yeah, I think the other thing. That scene where Yara goes to the Dreadfort, that honestly that doesn't need to be there. You could probably remove that whole thing and I'd be fine without it.
Right.
But the thing I like about it is that it pulls that loose end. Like, they could just leave Theon there, but Yara still cares for him, or at least feels some sense of duty to him. And so they do resolve that loose thread, and you just have that moment where she leaves and she's like, my brother's dead. And it kind of closes the book on that, which is nice. That's another thing you don't see that in a lot of shows, where they have either the ability or the care to do something with a character like Yara, who isn't in a lot of the show.
Yeah.
But it does kind of solidify how far gone Theon is.
Yeah.
But also, we kind of already know that.
Yeah, because when he held the razor to his neck and didn't slit his throat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although that might be self-preservation, this is really him going the other way, and it's tough to watch, to think about all the things that have been done to him, and now Ramsay is officially a Bolton. You can legitimize a bastard with the King's Order, and it's interesting. You got to wonder, what does his dad think of him, knowing the lengths that he's gone to. But then again, their house is known for flaying, so it's not like they've ever been just a straightforward house. Anything else on the Theon Ramsay love triangle?
I don't think so.
That's not.
No, I think that's everything.
Kind of where it ends.
Oh, he lets Theon take a bath, and it's really weird.
Oh yeah,
I was uncomfortable.
you can see the uneasiness in Theon. He's like, "Is this a trick? Is this a trick?"
Right.
Yeah, so there's a random sex scene with him and that one girl who helps him hunt that other girl.
Yeah.
Who's part of the original
Oh, yeah.
deep penis-fying of Theon. Anyway, that was just
Yeah, that's
look. Sometimes the word castration just you forget it. Is that the word?
I mean, with Tyrion and Shay relationship in shambles, the spot for most healthy relationship in Westeros is still up for grabs.
I mean, to be fair, Ramsay Bolton and whoever that woman are apparently they're both into the same things. Yeah. They're not hurting each other.
yeah. They're just hurting everyone around.
There's probably some emotional,
but they want to. So
yeah,
they enjoy it.
They have a safe word, and it's reek.
Reek is reeking. And then Brienne and Pod get a few quick scenes in this. They go get some pie, which it's really cool to see hot pie randomly show up every season. Mm-hmm. And I
like how he's just the
gotta
Emerald
get
of
the
Westeros
gravy.
now.
Yeah, gotta.
I love him.
You can't no gravy pie. Simple as that.
And he makes that bread for Arya because he tells them about Arya because they were asking about
after.
Sansa,
Which is risky. I mean, but he kind of figures out that he can trust her, and he comes back out. But also, Brienne's kind of mean to Pod.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want to help him, and he didn't have to be much of a squire because Tyrion's a little bit more of a drinker than a fighter. But he's like, Pod is just the most down, cool kid. Like, he's not even getting laid right now, which is really his special power. And, well, I guess he's not giving his gift to women, and he's just like, Brienne, like, I'm going to help you with whatever. And she just wants to be a lone wolf, for lack of a better word. But... Yeah. And anyway, that dynamic is pretty fun. Maybe a little bit less than we'd hoped when they first join up, but it's a very interesting dynamic to see her being grumpy and Pod just trying to do what he can.
Yeah, yeah, they're great.
So I feel like Brienne probably feels like she's being like babysat by him. I don't know, because they were just like, oh, well, he's going to go with you. And she's like, I don't need anyone. They're like, yes, you do. And so I can kind of see her being more defensive towards him because she's like, I can handle my shit. Like, I don't need you around. And I guess like they haven't really seen a lot of each other up to the point that they were matched up. And so I don't know. I think that she's just defensive because she's in a man's world and she knows that she's strong and she knows that she can fight. But I think that she just doesn't think anyone, because I mean, no one acts like she can do it. So I don't know.
Which really was just to keep Pod safe. Mm-hmm. But now we really do get to go over to Essos. Do you guys hear that? It's like moaning because we're in Essos now and we're across the narrow sea.
Gosh!
And then we're just trying to get our work done at the Bank of Bravo, so we can just hear this lady moaning. And like, do you guys allow whores in your bank? No. Where's that coming from? I'll tell you where it's coming. Okay. So Bank of Bravo. Stannis does not have a lot to do in these episodes. He kind of got his butt kicked. He's had this conflict with who he should listen to. The Red Woman frustrating him, and so he's there to get a loan. And he, like you talked about in the summer, he finds out that they have given the Lannisters, because the Lannisters are rich, but they've had to borrow a ton of money apparently. Yeah. They've got the Tyrells.
In these episodes that their gold mines have run dry.
Yeah.
Like
that's
years
Tywin
ago.
tells seriously that.
And so this is the first time we really get to see the Bank of Bravos and know that they play a very important role, because if they don't get their money back, they get their debts, paid back, which is the Lannisters' words. Like, Ed Lannister always pays his debt, so I don't know where they're not.
Which is probably why they gave him the loan in the first place.
We heard these guys pay their debts
I try
back.
to go throw down slogans in a bank nowadays. I go into Wells Fargo, I'm like, look, Tyler McKinley gets the money when he gets the money. He always gets the money.
Gets the money when he gets the money. I might get it, I might not. I don't know. Let's have some fun.
But you kind of find out that the bank is serious. Like, they will fund someone's enemies. This is kind of told earlier. Like, I forgot, the Bank of Bravos actually is mentioned earlier in the show. It's a very well-known around the world bank that does not just give out petty loans. They give out loans for armies and hiring out of, like, sellsword groups, etc. So it's an interesting Easter egg to drop in there. And you get this grand entrance of Bravos, which is where there's that giant soldier, and you go between his legs to go into the harbor. And Bravos is going to play a role in the show, and I thought it was really cool. But that's all we just really get that little bit of a taste of it.
Yeah. So that's interesting. And then obviously a bunch of stuff happens with Dany.
And that's the end of the show, Dany.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
That's it. Well, that's the thing is, I will say not a lot is happening with Dany. She's pretty...
What's your frustration level with the fact that you're like, she's supposed to get armies and go get 7 kingdoms? What the hell, Dany?
No, I mean, I'm fine with that not happening. What is happening with Dany now, I actually like from a story perspective, because I'm getting kind of tired of her just being like, I'm just gonna march in here and free all the slaves and everything is good. And it's like, there's more to it than that. Like she, I don't know. She still carries with her that we've seen from all the royalty everywhere is this very entitled and sense that they know what's best always. And we're starting to see that that's probably not the case.
It's like
things aren't as great as she thinks they are.
She completely flipped their economy without having a plan for how to then, what do slaves do now? How do they get money? What do the masters do? Like what, and not to defend slavery in any way, but like, that was a huge part of the system. It's like how Britain did Brexit without a plan, and they're still trying to figure it out with the deadline approaching.
Yeah.
A little bit of current events there for you, but yeah, she definitely has made those things. She's also thirsty as hell.
Yep.
For
obviously
a much better looking version of Fabio.
Yeah.
I know we already talked about him, but it's funny, they switch right from Lysa's thirst scene to Dany's. And I was like, oh, the Game of Thrones with your little flips. And then the next morning after she's slept with him, Jorah comes and he sees what's his name?
Dario
Naharis leaving.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like, you can see the panic on his face. And he's like, oh, the friend zone has officially enveloped my full soul.
Yeah.
And he wants people to know it too. Anytime you walk out of the room with your shirt still undone,
Yeah.
and you're walking through the palace, you want people to know that you just banged the queen.
Yeah. But yeah,
Mitchell knows from experience.
That's right.
The other big thing that happens with that is Barristan Selmy. I can't remember where he gets that letter. Is it given to him to just show up?
I was really confused by this. I can't remember what it is in the books. This kid who is, I'm assuming, one of Varys's.
Okay, yeah.
Varys's little birds.
Gives Barristan the note for Jorah. I didn't get it in the show, and like he'd already gotten the pardon in season 2. So why was he getting another one?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff around that I don't quite understand.
I think at this point the Lannisters, they knew that Jorah he was loyal to Dany, and so I think that they were trying to break that up at that point because they talk about it.
You're right. Yeah. So okay, that makes sense. I totally missed that for sure.
Good catch.
Because there is still this like reverence for Barristan, and Cersei's like, oh, he wouldn't have protected my son. And it's like, well, he was gone when your son died, because Jaime still, of course, has all this respect for Barristan. He should have never been dismissed. And like, oh, shocker, we gave one of our enemies a fantastic chess piece because your son's an idiot, just like he was an idiot for killing Ned, which set so much off. But we kind of barely graze over this, but Dany does have some scenes where she's just getting advice. She's taking people in. She's got like 200 people waiting in line to talk to her and get their problems fixed, and just she's trying to rule Meereen, and she's getting advice from these different sources. And then you have Barristan and Jorah kind of playing for who can be her favorite, and this is a trump card for Barristan Selmy. And then she's got her advisors and everything, and I think she's just a little lost. Like you said, she got in over her head a little too fast, and now she's like sleeping with this dude. And just, man, if I were her, just sell all your armies and maybe one of your dragons, and you could live wherever you want forever in peace. Just leave the whole world behind.
Well, I think we're being introduced in a much more overt way to her flaw a little bit. Like, she needs to be that. Like, I think it's partially because of the way she grew up, I'm sure. Like, her family was just disgraced constantly, and she needs that back. But it is something that is causing her problems right now, and the fact that she is so quick to flip on Jorah, I think shows how easily swayed she is right now, because she is becoming less sure. There's nowhere else necessarily to conquer. Like, she's done the lap around Slaver's Bay, right?
Yes.
She's kind of gone through everything, and so now it's like, okay, I don't have a war to fight because I don't give a shit about Westeros, apparently. so now what? And there are a bunch of problems that she's definitely not equipped to handle at this point.
And in some ways, she's learning to rule,
Right.
which is something she wants to do. But like, she's not doing well. The other two cities, she's kind of just left behind, freed the slaves, but who knows what's going on there. And then here in Marine, like, that ruling class is not going to lay down. They're still like, she also meets with Hisdar Zolorak, who's like, hey, you killed my dad. He was not one of the people who wanted to hang all the kids, all the slaves along there. Like, he was a good man. I would just like to bury him. And she eventually does let him do that. But she has a good point in that, like, okay, who's going to bury these slave kids? Like, maybe your dad wasn't the worst of the slave owners, but you're a slave owner. And to her, it's very black and white.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see her start to deal with all these incoming politics. But yeah, like, she can't master these 3 different cities in Slaver's Bay. How's she going to master 7 kingdoms? Although the slavery element undermining everything is interesting, but that was her moral compass that she felt like she had to accomplish, and now she's a little lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hisdar kind of comes in and throws some wrenches in the spokes here for her and how she perceives those cities.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a good slight change they made to his character from the book. In the book, his character is so slimy.
Yeah.
And, like, very upfront. You're like, this guy is not to be...
You always think he's
like,
working something behind her back.
Yeah, and he just seems like, you're like, you know his intentions right off the bat, and it's like, this guy... And they do, like, I don't think it's spoiling anything to say, like, his character is changed a lot. Like, even, like, his outcome is changed from the book. And he is a lot more convincing of to why he would be that much of an influence on her.
Yeah.
Like, you still don't agree with, like, a lot of things he's saying, but at the same time, there are things you're like, he's got you there. Like, you got... And
she realizes to some degree she's got to work with the Myronese people, and he is one of the nobles that ends up getting involved enough that he can make things happen. And in the show, it's just a little taste of that for him to try and put that out there. Like, this is how we can make this all work.
I think something that always looms over Daenerys' storyline is her father being the Mad King and just, like, not wanting to become him.
Well, because she makes these impulsive decisions that are sometimes, like, where, like, oh, she might not be a good leader. She might have too much... We know that she has a lot of good in her, but she might have a little bit too much of the madness.
Yeah, her intentions seem good, but then she takes them to black and white extremes that then you can easily see her falling into that trap of just becoming another one of her fathers.
She's from a long line of incest.
Yeah. Well, and I think also it's worth noting that the people she's surrounded herself at this point as her advisors are all soldiers. Like, she doesn't have any...
It's like running a company with all salesmen. You can't run a kingdom with all soldiers. You need people with other
It's too
knowledge.
close to home for everyone.
The final maybe thing we need to talk about in the East is a little bath scene here where we got to talk about eunuch boners.
We gotta
Do it. I can't remember if there's ever clarity.
I did write down that Grey Worm gets a phantom boner in his Grey Worm.
I was gonna say, like, can that weird area between your thighs just, like, harden? I don't know. And do they ever establish if they take the pillar and the stones?
No, they asked that
No,
question.
they asked it, and
I bet that's in the books where
Now no one knows.
because I think they
And
do. I
Daenerys
think
is like,
they take it
"Aren't
all.
you curious? And she's like,
yeah.
yeah.
But those two have some fun conversations where they're like, we're just two girls. And, like, in the books at this point, Dany's only, 16, 17?
Yeah.
And maybe in the show she's early 20s, but it's still, like, funny to think, like, she's still, like, watching her handmaiden of sorts flirt with this soldier who, like you said, he was cut really young. Like, there is no... Grey Worm should have no real relation or understanding to this, and that's just how powerful this attraction is. He's inventing his own love.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's wait, that's not... Never mind.
Good holdback. Any other thoughts on Essos or anything that we didn't cover from these 4 episodes?
Oh gosh.
Bran. We didn't touch on Bran.
Oh,
Does
and
Bran
there's-
do
there's-
anything in
well,
these?
yeah, there's not a ton, but there...
He does. They do escape Craster's key.
yeah, the whole
Because
Craster's thing
Locke
happened.
Wait,
comes
does
in
that
and
really
finds
happen in
him.
these episodes?
Yeah.
Wow, that... Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Locke comes in and finds him and starts to take him away, and then he possesses Hodor, commits murder in Hodor's
Vicariously,
name.
yeah.
Vicariously, yeah. Basically uses the mech suit known as Hodor to wreak havoc
Pacific Rim.
on this stuff. And then the Reeds kind of convince him, like, because he he kind of knows that Jon might be there, right?
Yeah.
No,
I think he
sees him.
sees
He
John.
sees him. That's
yeah.
right. Okay.
Oh,
And
another
so,
closest.
and the Reeds are like, yeah, no, if he sees us, then we're going to go back to the wall. We're going to be set back, all this stuff. So we need to go. And so they kind of escape during the hubbub of everything. And Lockhart dies kind of unceremoniously. No one on the Night's Watch knows why he was there. Like not like knows what, but like understood his true intent at all. And he's just burned with all the other
They
dead
just assume
crows.
he dies in the battle, and they're like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's true. That's kind of, it wasn't a red herring, but it was a nice, like, they kind of started off like Locke is going up there to mess with some things, and then all of a sudden he's like gone.
Yeah.
He's supposed to undermine things, and I think that's a fun little tidbit because honestly, on a first watch, I probably did completely miss that. I might have like not even really considered it. There's something, like at the end of the season, there's a couple other things where I'm like, wow, I didn't really understand who these characters were the first time I watched this through.
Yeah, it'd be hard. I think it's hard. It would have been incredibly hard to watch as well as on TV. It's hard to keep all these things straight now.
Yeah.
Like we kind of took a couple weeks break for some other stuff, and I like came back to this, and I was like, I don't know anyone's name.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It is a hard show.
They should have. There's like 10-minute season summaries on online. I'm like, those are super handy. I started watching a Netflix show that went off the air for 18 months, as Netflix shows do, and it had a nice little 5-minute summary of what happened. And it was just a sitcom, and I was like, oh, this is super handy.
Yeah.
But man, in Thrones, they need that after like every episode. Like, I took 3 weeks off. Where are we at?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Does anyone have who's the MVP right now? Who's the MVP of this set of season 4, which has some really cool moments like the Mountain and the Viper, but like we're setting up for a banger of an ending. Who was your MVP for these?
I mean, I gotta go Tyrion just from. I just had the most fun watching all his stuff, and I feel like it does the stuff that I want Game of Thrones to do the best. Like it's the culmination of seasons of work, and like I don't know, he's just that character that I feel like I connect with the most, and I've enjoyed watching his journey so much, and all the stuff they've done this season is so good with him. So I have to say that.
Riley, what do you think?
Thinking Arya, just because I really enjoy her, and I feel like in these episodes you've seen a lot. I mean, she's been like continuously growing, I think, since we met her, but in these ones you're kind of starting to see her like grow more emotionally too, and kind of like be able to make those kinds of emotional connections that she hasn't been making. And so I think that's cool, and I just feel like she's gonna be in a good place in a minute.
And
so.
she does it without a ton of screen time. Do they get turned down at the Eyrie in these episodes?
Yeah.
Man, when she just starts laughing,
Yeah.
it's like
She just
they
laughs.
went all the way over to the twins to meet up with her mom. Now they're over here to meet with her sister, and she's just the ridiculousness of it. She's like, or not to meet with her sister, to meet with her aunt because she doesn't know her sister's there. But man, her just cracking up. I'm like, that's another just what a freaking good moment.
That's a really good moment. Yeah.
Maisie Williams is someone who doesn't ever have enough to like come through as a bad performer, but man, she starts to come through big time as she gets more to do.
Yeah. She's great.
Any other notes, important things that we missed in these?
Can't think of anything big. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh, there is the conversation with Oberyn and Tyrion about when like they went to visit when Tyrion was a baby.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
that's a
you
really
kind
good
of find
moment,
out that Cersei has been wanting to kill him like ever since he was born.
Yeah.
And she just thought he was a monster and would like torture him and stuff as a
Pinch his
baby.
peenie.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
So that scene was really good.
Yeah, that was really good.
And it helped us understand Oberyn a little bit more. He was like, he's like, I didn't understand what. It does seem, his area of the world, Dorne, is a little bit more woke. Because there's a lot of times through real human history where if you were born with a deformity, they'd kill you. They're like not worth the resources. So interesting to see the hatred, and then for him to just give his perspective, and really that's why he sees the way he sees Cersei. I always thought it would be fun to have him on the small council for a little longer. We really only see him in like one meeting.
Yeah, it would have been fun.
Another small conversation that happens that I found kind of interesting. It's not like a big deal, but I just love this character so much. Is Varys and Oberyn are talking in front of the throne a bit, and it's revealed that because we always it's always hinted at that Varys touches little boys, and this is kind of the moment where it's kind of like, nope, he's asexual, the right term.
Yeah,
he's not attracted to anything. He just doesn't have any of those impulses or desires, and it's reinforced by him just watching people and seeing what desire in general does people and changes their motives and makes them do stupid shit. So he's like, I don't want any part of that. And I think it's one of the most interesting uses of someone's sexuality put into their character, I feel like, because usually it's just like, it's just such a subsurface level thing when people try and explore it a lot of times in any sort of media, whereas this really feels like it has weight to his character of why he's asexual.
And it also kind of explains why he's a mystery to some people, is because there's so much sexual manipulation that happens, especially at King's Landing, and like, yeah, if someone's just not participating in that, okay, what do we do then? Like, I hope he likes cocaine. Does he like cocaine?
He's a fantastic character, and we've heard like men's sexual thoughts. Cersei has decided like if you can control their cock, you can control them, that sort of thing. This kind of shows like it matters for women too, and he's like, for me to be completely not absorbed by that or not get myself in a scandal by touching a little boy or something, he really is separating himself from everything. Sweet. Oh man, the next 2 episodes are 2 of the best in the entire series, and I can say that for sure. So join us again next time. My name is Mitchell Marcy with Tyler McKinley, Tyler Harris, Riley Harris, and we rewatch this shit from the wall, and we're coming back. So if you're binging, go ahead and just press play on the next one too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.